Hey, all right, shalom, shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakak Wadash. I want to thank double honors to the apostles and the bishop elders of Great Millstone for teaching his word in truth and sincerity and for ruling well. And salutations to the elect. Hey, I'm the brother Gabar Yahweh from GMS Hawaii, coming to you with another quick lesson. And it was inspired by a video that I was watching with Apostle Tahar entitled Revelation 18, the closing credits of Babylon the Great. His page is What is the 66 Mark 2 GMS Truth. Please subscribe and be edified. Okay, so I want to play a little bit of what he said, but first I want to play this video just to give you an understanding on what the apostle's talking about. Matter of fact, I'll start with the video first. What he was talking about first, right? This is the video right here. And I just want you to listen to a little bit of it. I'm going to make this too long, but just please listen to it.
The decision that he made is backfiring on this guy, which lead me to believe that there was people behind him telling him what to do, because they should have told him, look, that's not a good move economically. You can't just say I'm an economist. There's things that you do, and people go to school for years to become economists, to become business people. You don't just one day get up, oh, I'm an economist, I'm going to do this, I'm going to set. Tariffs fuck a system up, because if China, something comes from China, whatever tariff that the president slaps on any of the goods, who's going to pay for it? When you get it, you got to pay extra money. That's what they've been saying. Watch the financial shows. Watch.
Right, and this is proof of what the apostle. This was the proof that
I think this is obvious.
This is proof of what the apostle was saying. I came across this video earlier today, and the apostle is absolutely right. You know, most people don't understand. The majority of Americans in this country do not understand how money works. First and foremost, the money that they have works. They don't understand how the economy works, how it's built, and what certain policies can do to affect a nation's economy, and even at times, because of globalization, the world economy, right? So people just think you go to work, you get your check, and you spend it on your goods, and you think, okay, that's it. This is how money works. I save a little, I do some things that I want to do, and I'm right back at square one. But that's not how this works, bro. Right? These terrorists are going to destroy America, and it's on purpose. Right? It's on purpose to devalue the dollar. It's on purpose to make cost of living extremely high and difficult for the average citizens of America. Right? This president, when he came the first time, he came with that happy-go-lucky spirit. He was giving out checks. He was, he had that smile on his face. But when he came in the second time, y'all see that he had that mean mug on his face, right? He had that mean mug on his face where it looked like he ain't playing no games this time, right? And like Elder Apostle Tahar said, man, you don't become a businessman or economist overnight, right? And like Elder Apostle also said that it got to be somebody behind him that's making him make these decisions, because a rational person will understand, like, look, I made all these claims to bring back America, make America great again, and make the American people get more money in their pocket. He actually said that. You'll have more money than you ever had, than you ever know what to do with. But currently you do not, and you will not. And it's not these other nations, China, Canada, Mexico, or any of these other countries that Donald Trump is bringing these tariffs against. It's not them that's going to have to pay for it. It's the people that's going to have to pay for it. And here is proof right here. Listen to this.
I think this is obvious. Tariffs are highly regressive, meaning that poorer people end up paying a disproportionate percentage of the tariffs, because they spend 100% of their paychecks on goods. So they're going to Walmart, they're going to their stores, they're buying goods with their paycheck. Wealthier people save a bigger percentage of their paycheck. So the tariffs are going to affect the poorer people more. I think this is obvious. Tariffs are highly regressive, meaning that poorer people end up paying a disproportionate percentage of the tariffs, because they spend 100% of their paychecks on goods. So they're going to Walmart, they're going to their stores, they're buying goods with their paycheck. Wealthier people save a bigger percentage of their paycheck. So the tariffs are going to affect the poorer people more. I think this is...
And that's the point, right? Because It's not the wealthy don't look at the poor in this country or anywhere else in the world for that matter. It's like we're two different people. To them, the wealthy look at the poor like you shouldn't even exist, right? Your poverty is a disease unto the wealthy, right? So you having nothing is no sweat off their back, right? Because they got everything that they want. And Trump is playing into this because this is all going to usher in the mark of the beast, the MOTB, which is going to include a number of things: UBI, your medical records, tracking capabilities, restrictions, a ration system, basically, right? The things that you want, the things that you used to want and you used to have open access to getting, you're no longer going to get those things, right? Because the people are going to start to get so strained. This is pressure from above, pressure from below. Hegelian dialectics, right? Where they give you all this pressure on the bottom to where you beg this man to give you a new system, right? Because if they just cripple the dollar straight off the bat, it's going to make the whole global economy collapse. So they doing it in parcel, right? And so these tariffs are not set up to hurt China, right? They're not set up to hurt Germany, France, Italy, these EU nations. It's not set up to hurt Canada or Mexico. It's set up to hurt you Americans, man. And that's why the scripture says this. It says, this is Ecclesiasticus chapter 14, verse 5. He does evil to himself, to whom will he be good? He shall not take pleasure in his goods. So this man don't even care.
Obvious.
He does not care about destroying himself. And himself represents his own people, because you got a lot of so-called white people who are impoverished now, right? You got a lot of so-called white people out here that's barely getting by. They're the ones that's going to, I mean, you got Jakes too, but these Edomites here in America, they're the ones going to your Walmarts and these different box stores, spending their whole checks to try to survive through the month. And they're the ones that's openly complaining. You got a lot of these Trumpers now, they regret voting for this guy, right? They see how the tariffs are affecting their small businesses, how these tariffs are affecting the cost of goods and services. And they're frustrated. And they're voicing their opinion. Last month, they had the whole march across all 50 states. And it came and went. Nothing came out of it. These people were just talking about hands off, hands off. But this man is putting all hands on, because this is a part of the system. Tariffs hurt poor people. Tariffs don't hurt wealthy people, right? It says poor people end up paying a disproportionate percentage of the tariffs because they spend 100% of their paychecks on goods. And Gary Cohn, vice chairman of IBM and former top economic advisor to President Trump in his first term, the tariffs are going to affect the poor people more. And again, this is because the wealthy don't care about the poor. There's another precept. I got it in the book of I got it in the GNT, but I'm also get it in the I'm gonna read it in the NLT first. The KJV first. This is Sirach chapter 13, verse I'll start at 16. It says, all flesh consorteth according to kind, and a man will cleave to his light. The wealthy not gonna cleave to the poor, just like the poor not gonna cleave to the wealthy, to the rich. Right? The poor aspire to be rich. They hope and wish they could live that extravagant, luxurious life, but that's a life that you will never get in this life, right? And the poor don't just mean somebody just living in the projects or eating out the trash can. You got something called the working poor, the middle class. They poor in the eyes of the wealthy, the super wealthy, right? You used to have something called the upper class, which was like lower. It was like a lower class of wealthy and a lower class of being rich in this country, right? The upper middle class. You wasn't poor, but you wasn't rich. You was right on that border. Now that border does not exist anymore. You got people crying and screaming that they can't pay their mortgages. People crying and screaming about their these different programs are being taken away, or they being made highly restrictive, like Social Security. Right? People catching hell. There's a lot of people out here that's surviving on government benefits And without these government benefits, they will not be able to exist in this world. Because again, the rich don't look at the poor, so they go what they like. They're not gonna mingle with the poor. They laugh at you. Right? There's a famous picture of politicians in the office. I think it was Reagan, Bush, what's this guy name? It looked like the dude Warren Buffett laughing. Right? They just laughing. But what are they laughing at? They laughing at, that's a sign and symbol of them laughing at you, the poor man. That's a symbol sign laughing at the people, how idiotic and dumb you are to think that these people are enemies. Biden and Trump are enemies, and that they going against the super elite. They going to fight against the deep state in the swamp. They're going to clean the swamp out. Nigga, they are part of the swamp. They are the swamp. Right? They are those alligators deep in that swamp chomping up everything. And they have no feeling about it. They'll chop each other up. They don't care. Right? So again, the book of Sirach, chapter 13, verse 16, all flesh can sort of according to kind, and a man will cleave to his like. What fellowship have the wolf with the lamb? So the sinner with the godly. What agreement is there between a hyena and a dog? And what peace between the rich and the poor? There's no peace between the rich and the poor. Like the rich and the poor, they make these things, they make these decisions behind the scenes because they know how it's going to affect the poor. Because the poor people are not insulated. The wealthy people are insulated, man, to a portion. Because you got the wealthy, then you got the super wealthy, and above them you got the super elite, who money don't matter to them. They create money. They pull it out of thin air. They own countries. They own the banking system, so it don't bother them. It's like playing Monopoly. Well, they the bankers and they got the cheat code. So again, it says as a wild. I'm sorry. What agreement is there between a hyena and a dog? And these are both canine animals, but they're different. They're canine species, but they're different canine species. Right? A hyena, if it see a dog, it's going to eat that thing. Especially if it's a bunch of hyenas and that dog by himself. It don't matter how big that dog is, they're going to take him down. Because you're not going to see hyenas walking around with a Labrador or a pit bull or a bull mastiff or some shit like that. They ain't gonna be. This ain't the Jungle Book, right? They separate. Well, it's the same way with the rich and the poor. And what peace between the rich and poor? As the wild ass is the lion's prey in the wilderness, so the rich eat up the poor. And this is the reason these tariffs are set up like that. It's really set up to eat the poor. Because they hate you. They disdain the poor. Right? These Edomites feel like if you poor people weren't here, we would have more than what we need. Right? Well, you poor people, you're taking up the earth. You call it what? Useless eaters. And the useless eaters, they don't even represent Jake, because they don't even rate us. Useless eaters represent you poor Edomites. Right? You're just eating, you're just taking up space. Right? They look down and you can't, even though your skin color is the same as theirs, they look at you like you might as well be a fly in ointment. Get them out of here. Right? So it says a rich man, I'm slacking. It says, as the wild ass is the lion's prey in the wilderness, so the rich eat up the poor. And as the proud hate humility, so doth the rich abhor the poor. Right? So when you look up that term for abhor, I'm just looking at it on my computer. I'm not going to bring it up on a thing. You look, because you brothers can look up that word too. Right? You look up the word for abhor. Abhor. You look up that word for abhor, right? And it says the word abhor, which means to loathe in English. It is an infinitive form of verb abhor, which translates to detest or to hate intensely. So the rich hate the poor. They really, really hate the poor. And they gave the poor of their people white supremacy, right? They gave you an empty gesture, just like they did when they give Jake these holidays, right? An empty gesture, an empty token, right? A token gesture is not really meant to give you no real power, but it's just set up there to give you a resemblance of something, right? But it don't really carry no weight. It carried weight for the poor Edomites because they took their eyes off the wealthy and put their eyes on the Israelites. you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, right? They could say, well, look, I'm not better than a rich man, but I'm damn sure better than you so-called black people, you so-called Latino people, Native American. You're low, you're slaves, you're nothing. So they had that. Even though these motherfuckers was poorer than Jake, they lived way more filthier than our people. But they had that white supremacy. That was an empty gesture, right? This is the reason why you have Trump trying to stoke that white supremacy back up into the earth again, especially here in America, which has always been here. It didn't go nowhere. It just went covert, underground. But now they're trying to pull it out. Why? Because they want you to focus on the same old battle. They got, hey, Houston Mellon was right. He said the elite, the wealthy families, these people are not smart. They just got a formula that works, right? They understand certain things because they set it up that way. And they just keep on using it over and over again. Get them to fight each other. They're not going to think about fighting the wealthy or trying to destroy the system that they trying to bring in. Again, the poor, the wealthy hate the poor. They detest the poor, right? And you got people begging, trying to get this man to see things their way. And he just won't because he can't. So this is in the G&T, the same precepts. It says, this verse 16, I'll start at 15. Every creature prefers his own kind and people are no different, right? So here it is. They trying to usher in everybody into this universal concept of living and being, which we ain't supposed to be like that. The Most High Yahweh Shem Shai separated man. He didn't. If he wanted every nation together, he would have made it that way. But now you have this universal concept of what salvation. It's just for everybody. When you read the scriptures, universalism is nowhere in that scripture, in the scriptures, right? A whole all togetherness and every man just joining hand in hand. That ain't the way. This is the way. That ain't the way. Right? It says every creature prefers his own kind, and people are no different. So, from ethnic people, from ethnic or what you call race today, people, they don't want to mix and mingle with everybody. Right? Wealthy and poor, they don't want to mix and mingle. Even poor people, when you get around wealthy people, you feel hella uncomfortable because they're not your people. And you stick out like a sore thumb. Right? Likewise, the wealthy can't exist with the poor unless they're exploiting you. They can't, they don't see things the way you see things because they don't come from that life. They weren't born into abject oppression and abject poverty and violence, violence just breaking their people down, watching people die at like 13 years old from gunshots and shit. They ain't used to that shit. Their kids get enamored by it. Oh, look at that. But it's just something they play with like a dog plays with a toy. Right? So it says, just as animals of the same species flock together, so people keep company with people like themselves. A sinner has no more in common with a devout person than a wolf has with the lamb. Rich people have no more in common with poor people than hyenas have with dogs. Rich hunt down the poor just as lions hunt down wild donkeys in the open country. Arrogant people have nothing but scorn for the humble, and the rich think of the poor in the same way. So they have scorn against you, man. You see, and it shows you that. And Apostle Tahar was 100% right, in his video, man, 100% right. Right? You got to see things with a higher understanding. Right? The only people that think everybody's supposed to live together and we all supposed to coexist and do this and do that together are simple-minded poor people. The poor think that. Right? The wealthy don't think that way. Right? They don't care about your cries. They don't care about your grievances. They don't care about the things that you were living without. They don't shop at the supermarkets that you go into. You're never going to see a wealthy person pushing a cart getting food out of a fucking supermarket. Ever. They got servants for that. And on top of that, they got a different type of quality of foods. Right? If they want a steak, they're not going to go to the supermarket and get a pack of steak so they can cook it up. No. They're going to kill a bull or a cow that's on one of their ranches and eat it that same night, blood and all. Right? They don't, when they go get water, they're not drinking fucking Crystal Geyser. They're not drinking Dasani water out of a goddamn plastic bottle. They not, hell no. Right? They're not drinking tap water. Right? They're not drinking filtered water. They got the best of everything. And so they think in their mind, the world's problem is the poor. And there's way more poor people on this planet than there are wealthy people on this planet. And when I say wealth, I'm not talking about a billionaire's list. I'm not talking about no Oprah Winfrey. I ain't talking about no Bill Gates, no Jeff Bezos, Donald Trump. All them people are nothing more than middle management, bruh. We talking about the super elites. These banking families. Right? Who've never tasted a hard day's work in a life. They never tasted poverty or oppression in their life, not one bit. Right? So, to see you, they look at you as foreign. Right? Like this is like, it's like looking at somebody, an American that grew up in the Western world, looking at somebody in Africa that lived in the goddamn bushes all their life, or somebody living in the middle of the Pacific eating fucking monkey heads and shit. That's what they look at the poor. When you eating your McDonald's and you stuffing your face with all these fast food chemicals and shit, they look at you like a person living in a damn bush with no clothes on, ashy, knuckles all black and hands all hard, eating tree bark. That's how the wealthy look at you, man. You see? So yeah, the elder apostle did that video, and it made me think about this video, and it made sense, right? The poor are going to pay when it comes to these tariffs, man. Poor people end up paying a disproportionate percentage of tariffs, man. The poor people are going to make, and the poorest of the poorest are the Israelites. Because we spend 100% of our checks on just living and not even living, just trying to exist in this world. The scripture says what in the book of Baruch chapter 3, right? The book of Baruch chapter 3, I believe is 8, 3 and 8. It's it, Salakia. Yeah, Baruch chapter 3 verse 8. Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments, according to all the iniquities of our fathers, which departed from the Lord our power. Right? So we subject to constant payments. Every time you get a check, you spending it. You spending it. You spending it. You ain't saving nothing. You can't. It's impossible. Even when you save a little, you gonna have, I guarantee you have to spend that little on something. The Lord had you saving that because something else is coming up. The wealthy they're not subject to payments. They don't pay electricity. They ain't paying no cable bill, internet bill, right? They ain't paying no mortgages to no banks. Even if they got a bank loan for anything, it's gonna be 0.000% on that shit. In fact, the banks will pay them to store their money in their banks so that they could what? So they could lend it out to more wealthy people. Not you poor people. Right? Not you poor people, man. So we subject to payments. And again, most people don't understand how the economic system works, how finance works. Right?
Paying a disproportionate percentage of the tariffs because they spend 100% of their paychecks on goods. So they're going to Walmart, they're going to their stores, they're buying goods with their paycheck. Wealthier people save a bigger percentage of their paycheck. So the tariffs are going to affect the poor people more.
And there it is. That's what I would say. Shalom, on to the next.